It's Super Wild Card Weekend, and we give you our 3 best bets for the start of the NFL playoffs, and it all starts right now. Hey guys, it's Matt from Grandstand Bettors.com, and we have 3 of our best bets for this Super Wild Card Weekend coming up. We'll get to those in just a moment, but first, if you're new to our channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss any of our free picks, predictions, and contests throughout all of 2023. And while you're at it, smash that like button if you are ready to kick off the postseason. I know I am. So, without further ado, let's dive in to Super Wild Card Weekend and start with the first game on Saturday in the 4:30 p.m. time slot, which is the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the 49ers are 10-point or 9.5-point favorites, depending on what sportsbook you look at. The over-under set at 42. Now, Seattle really backed into these playoffs after barely getting a win over the Rams in overtime in week number 18, and they lucked out after the Lions, whom they actually eliminated from playoff contention, then went out and beat the Packers on Sunday Night Football. The end result, though, is Seattle comes in here squeaking into the 7th seed, and they're going to face the number 2 seeded San Francisco 49ers. The Seahawks, who once had a 2-game lead in their division, should feel disappointed with how they ended the season, losing 5 of the last 8. This team was a bit surprising for the most part on offense, with Geno Smith showing that maybe he can be a QB in this league. He threw for 4,200 yards and 30 TDs. He actually set a record in Seattle with most franchise passing yards, beating Russell Wilson. I know, who's that guy, right? But also, Metcalf and Lockett, they were huge in this offense. They both reached 1,000 yards receiving as well. Now, the rookie out of Michigan State might be the staple of this team, as Walker averaged 4.6 yards per carry on the season and reached the 1,000-yard mark as well. And in total, they were top 10 in scoring offense with about 24 points per game. So the question is, why did they struggle, especially so much down the stretch? Well, their defense wasn't great. They were bottom third of the league, giving up 24 points per game, and the biggest problem by far is their rush defense, where they gave up the 3rd most points on the ground per game at 150. And the 49ers are definitely not the team you're going to want to play this week if that is your weak link on defense. The 49ers, they have won 10 games in a row, and they ended the season 13-4 coming into this matchup. Brock Purdy, he has been a household name for the last, 6-7 weeks, and after Lance and Jimmy G went down for the regular season, Mr. Irrelevant has stepped up and shown that he could be the future of this franchise. There is a chance that Jimmy does come back in the playoffs, but why not ride the hot hand? And Purdy has yet to lose a game in the NFL. Now, it certainly does help a rookie quarterback a lot when your team is putting up 140 rushing yards on the ground per game, and Christian McCaffrey is your lead back, averaging nearly 5 yards per carry. But still, Purdy has looked good, throwing for 13 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. So what is our best bet for this NFC West showdown on Super Wild Card Weekend? Well, as we know, this is going to be the 3rd time that these teams will have played. Now, San Francisco in the regular season did take both matchups, winning by an average score of 14 points. This is something really cool, though. The Seattle Seahawks are going to have now faced Trey Lance, Jimmy G, and now Brock Purdy in all of these games. It really doesn't matter what the quarterback or who the quarterback really is going to be in this one. The game plan for the 49ers is not going to change. They're going to want to run the football against a bad Seahawks rush defense. However, in the last 3 games, Seattle's rush defense has been much improved, allowing less than 100 yards in each of the last 3 games. Now, Seattle was only a double-digit underdog once all season, and they lost by 17 in that game to the Chiefs. But let's be honest, Brock Purdy, he is not the same person as Patrick Mahomes. And we can't forget that this guy is still a rookie taking the field this week against a very veteran coaching staff in Seattle. I do expect the 49ers to pull this game out, but there's going to be a much closer game than I think most people would think here. Also, again, it is the 3rd time the Seahawks are playing the 49ers, and it's hard to beat an NFL team 3 times in one season. So with our first best bet of Super Wildcard Weekend, we're going to take the Seahawks plus 10 points, which you can find over at Caesars. Now, you shop around for that number. Try to get the 10. If you can't, I still would take it at plus 9.5, but obviously you want that hook. Now, with our second matchup, a super wild card weekend, we're going to take a look on Sunday at the 1 p.m. Eastern time slot, and the Buffalo Bills hosting the Miami Dolphins. Bills 13-point favorites in this one, over-under set at 43.5. And it did come out from Miami Dolphins camp that Tua will not be playing for the Dolphins this week against the Bills. And honestly, you already know our opinion on that. Miami Dolphins fans, it might be better off that he's not playing. Now, it does look like Skylar Thompson is going to start for the second week in a row. And that is going to be, though, concerning for Dolphins fans. Last week, he was 20-31 for just 152 yards and no touchdowns, but he did protect the ball and didn't turn it over with any interceptions. Quite honestly, I would suggest that the Dolphins lean on a rushing attack here this week, but really, with the Bills having the 5th best rush defense in the league, Skylar Thompson is going to have to win this game by throwing the football. And when you have Waddle and Tyreek Hill, quite honestly, if you can find them in some open space, anything could happen in this one. Now, the Bills, though, they're not going to be scared of Skylar Thompson. They come in as the AFC East champions, and they're coming off an emotional win last week against the Patriots after that Hamlin incident the week before. Now, we would anticipate more emotions on the field, and honestly, if Hines is going to run back 2 kicks again this week, then this game is already over before it started. Josh Allen, he's had a good season passing for 4,200 yards and 35 TDs, with Diggs, as usual, being his go-to receiver, who racked up over 100 receptions and 1,400 yards with 11 touchdowns on the season. There is really an area of concern, though, we have for Josh Allen. We spoke of it last week in our Week 18 video, and as predicted, it actually came to fruition. Red zone interceptions is becoming a problem for Josh Allen. He threw another one last week and continues to lead the league in this category. Now, still, with all that said, the Bills still are scoring 28 points per game, but those red zone turnovers are keeping teams around in games, and that could come back to bite them down the line. Not necessarily in this one, but maybe in an AFC Championship game. So what is our best bet in this matchup between two AFC East teams? Well, we might as well call this Super Wildcard Weekend a divisional weekend, because that's what it seems like all around the league. Again, like the 49ers and Seahawks, this will be the 3rd time for the Bills and the Dolphins meeting. They did split the first 2 games. The loss that the Bills actually had to the Dolphins was kind of crazy. Josh Allen threw for 400 yards in that game, and they only put up 19 points. Now, I just can't see the Dolphins winning this game, but I also don't feel comfortable with the way Allen has been turning over the ball recently, that the Bills are going to be able to put Miami away, even with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. The Bills, they should be able to put up 24 to 30 points in this game. And as we mentioned, their rushing defense, no matter who the QB is or who the team is, they're going to lean on that defense and make sure that they force Skylar Thompson to throw the football. And he's going to throw the football a lot in this one. Honestly, we understand why the total of this game is low. It's because Thompson's at QB. But honestly, they should actually bring this total up, because the chance of Thompson folding and actually throwing maybe a pick 6 or 2 pick 6s in this game is pretty likely. So with our second best bet, a super wild card weekend, we're actually going to take the Dolphins and the Bills over 43.5 points. Now, before we get into our final best bet, a super wild card weekend, if you're looking for some player props, head into the description, click the link to our Patreon, and get signed up today. For less than a quarter, you get 1 or 2 plays each and every day. Or head on over to grandstandbettors.com and become part of our family. Start living that grandstand life and becoming profitable each and every day. But as we did mention, we do have one more of our best bet for Super Wildcard Weekend, and it's in the Monday Night Football game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dallas, a 2.5-point favorite at the moment. The over-under is set at 45.5. And to be honest, a lot of these NFL games this weekend sort of have some lackluster taste to them, especially with all the injuries at quarterback. So it's not surprising that we are going to see the NFL put the Cowboys and the Bucs here on Monday Night Football. The Cowboys earned themselves the 5 seed, and unfortunately, that has them playing on the road, even with a 12-5 record. But the good news for them is they get to play a team that made the playoffs below 500. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, barely beat out the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons for the top spot in the NFC South, and now they get to host a playoff game against what has historically been a very overrated Cowboys team. Now, if you add in the home field advantage and the choke artist Cowboys playoff debacles, it's not surprising that the money and the line has the 12-5 boys at only a 2.5-point favorite over Brady and the Bucs. It is fitting that these two face off against each other, as they did open the season in Week 1 with Brady continuing his dominance over Dallas. I don't even think he's lost. I think he's 5-0, maybe 6-0 career over the Cowboys. That was a low-scoring affair, and honestly, even though Tom Brady won that game, it was the start of a good season for the Dallas secondary. They ended up 8th best in the NFL this season in yards given up per game through the air. That's a huge improvement over the last couple of seasons. If they want to win this game, that is where it's going to have to start, as they face Brady, who threw for nearly 4,700 yards on the season, and getting Evans and Godwin to eclipse 1,000 yards receiving, which honestly is a little deceiving when you dive into the stats. They're only averaging a little more than 18 points per game, the Bucs, and they have the worst rushing offense in the league. So, how are they playing in this game as a division winner? Well, their defense, in our opinion, probably accounts for 50% of their wins, but the other 50% of their wins, you have to give credit to Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Jameis Winston, and Andy Dalton. I mean, Brady knew what he was doing when he went into this division, right? So the question is, in this Monday Night Football matchup, what is our best bet between the Cowboys and Bucs? Who's moving on? Well, this game, honestly, I was back and forth, and as I'm filming it right now, I don't even really know what team's going to come out of my mouth. A lot of people look at the Cowboys at -2.5 and think that's a trap line for a 12-5 team that's going up against a bad football team in the Bucs. And the public will always bet on Brady, and a lot of people will always fade that Cowboys team that usually or most likely is going to let you down. But I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I've watched the Bucs, and I just don't have the confidence in this team. If you take out the Week 1 win against the Cowboys, they went 1-4 on the season against playoff teams. Also, this line with money coming in clearly on the Bucs probably isn't going to move any further, which tells me that Vegas doesn't want to give any more points away from what the Cowboys have favored at the moment. I think we see a whiny Tom Brady on the sideline as the clock winds down, and with our third best bet, a super wild card weekend, we are going to take the Dallas Cowboys -2.5 points over Brady and the Bucs. Well, that does it for us here at Grandstand Bettors. As always, sit back, relax, enjoy Super Wild Card Weekend, and we'll see you live right here for Cowboys Bucs on Monday night.